Do you think we're on the same page in this country about what we need to do? We all know the situation.
Yeah. Well, see, it's evolved a lot, and it's too late now to say, well, the country will go apart or something, or north and south. The British, no doubt, and I have no time at all for blaming the British after 55 years, but they did plant the foundation for some of this problem, no question about it. I mean, look, Lord Lugart's mandate in 1914 was to amalgamate Nigeria so that the British colonial authorities did not have to carry the extra administrative burden, the cost of administering the North as a colonial territory. Once they added the North to their southern colonies and Lagos colony and everything, they discovered that the administrative cost went up massively. They didn't want to take that money from the colonial office in London. It was one of the funny things about the British. You go to a place, they didn't invite you, you took it by force, then you said the place has to fund itself. From what? Do you understand? But that is how the amalgamation came. That's a long time now. It's too late to say, well, together we could have, look, anybody can come to your house, an outsider, he can mess up, do whatever he likes, but when he goes away, you have a duty to say, oh, this man has put this plate here, this place should be here. Do you understand? So the British are historically responsible for some of the foundational problems we have, but today we are accountable for what has happened after they've left.
But let's go back a bit to, you talked about returning to the regions. You talked about returning to the 12 states,
yes.
19 and then now 36. But what we have now, we have the 6 geopolitical zones. Don't you think the political zones, the political zones could have helped to galvanize thoughts towards moving the different zones forward? If they look within, if the governors in that zone look within, I mean, northeast, south, look within and find the resources they have, with the forum they have, don't you think that was an opportunity for them to put their heads together and think, like Sulaiman asked, ingenuity, to gather their thoughts together, look at different resources, look at different structures they can create within themselves. And I think the Constitution allows them to think in that direction. Is that not possible?
I'm sure it is. In certain kinds of environment. I don't know what went wrong with Nigeria, where politics is deliberately allowed to trump policy for economic development. Do you understand? Those who have participated in public life in Nigeria, under the military, and especially under the political system, politics for them is not an end. I mean, a means to an end. The end being economic development, industrial transition for Nigeria. It's been a means, it's been an end in itself. People live for the next election, they steal money, they do all these things. So, for me, that is what makes geopolitical zone, for me, psychologically disturbing. Our leaders actually look at those 6 zones. This way, let's just change it. Let the federal government just adopt from next week.
So should it be changed to
geo-economic zone? So that maybe our mindset will shift from that is the place where all the gladiators come to go and fight in Abuja and take your own political everything. Because I think that is the mentality of many of our politicians. These are geopolitical zones. From these geo zones, politics will fight. You are the president, who will be the chairman of railway, who will be this one, how many ministers and things. So, geopolitical zone has been taken literally to mean that, zones from which the political gladiators come and fight for the soul of Nigeria at the center.
Do you think the laws we have now, because someone say that's where we need to go back to, do you think the laws we have now are structured to bring about this economic development?
No, I have told you, the Nigerian state, as currently structured, is not designed to produce, and it cannot. Strictly speaking, it cannot. We will struggle, we'll do all these things. This is why I pity this government. Because for the first time, you really have serious genuineness at the top. Okay? And I'm sure a lot of the followers, I listen to, a few people in this government, and I'm very impressed. Do you understand? Thinking is beginning to go in the right direction. Something that I love very much, which I call economic nationalism, judiciously used, strategically used, because you shouldn't bring yourself in a direct confrontation with all the Washington consensus institutions. They'll cap your knee. But you should nevertheless focus, any country should focus on economic nationalism. This is not socialism, this is not communism. This is running your economic governance in the highest interest of your country. Technological, industrial, employment, human development. Okay? I'm hearing some talk. I've had Minister of Finance, and I didn't want to mention her name. I've heard some of the things she says. Give me grounds to hope that at least there's correct thinking about we must develop Nigeria for Nigeria's own intrinsic purposes.
But thinking,
industrialization, economic development, all that.
Thinking and talking, does it also translate to performance?
They have implementation challenge. I was in a discussion with some friends last week, and I said implementation, implementation, implementation. The devil is always in that, okay? I'd been privileged to be part of some event, Vision 2020, and I was quite shocked by the quality and quantity, the sheer volume of good ideas that are deposited in our MDAs, specifically education sector and employment, because I was, in that team. And my question then, and the question of many people in my team and in the old Vision of 2020 was, why has nobody implemented these things? Why cannot we see the impacts of these things or the workings of all these great ideas, in the lives of Nigeria?
Did you get an answer?
Well, we then went ahead and did our mandate, and submitted recommendations and stuff. Are they being implemented? I don't think so.
I think.
But is this government trying to go back to the drawing? Because I am hearing things, Vice President.
If you look at it, it would seem as if you've highlighted the problems, and we just also realize for a moment it doesn't look as if it's because of the structure we now practice now, because you just came down to the SMEs and so many other things that really can drive the economy and even help the ordinary Nigerian, whether it's 19 states or 36 states. We had policies, programs over the years till this moment, 2016. How come most of these programs still don't, jumpstart the economy from the ordinary Nigerian and even give us the boost that we would love to see economically?
There's a waning of governance capacity in Nigeria.
The capacity?
Yes, to govern well, to create our number one objective. They call us developing country, right? Which means our business is to develop out of mass poverty, out of, lack of technological scientific capacity, lack of, wealth, lack of middle class. Develop out of this. This is what we are developing out of, into the status of a developed economy. But that is not happening so far. And some of the problems are the things we just talked about. We need to build a foundational economy, call it the bottom of the pyramid economy. We have not done that in any determined, strong way. You understand? You need these big ticket item programs, deliberate. For instance, let me tell you something. There is a structural, if you like, institutional aspect to why Nigeria has difficulty developing with this structure. You look at it, 36 states, 36 assembly member. All of them have this one, they have that one, they have 36, governors with advisors and this and all their own personal privileges. 36 states commissioners, 774 local governments. Many of those things repeated. 774. Many of those things repeated. Then federal government, thank God now we have.
And some don't mind more.
Some want more. So you have the federal government, used to be 50-something ministers and things. And all of these things are costing money. So again, structurally, the structure of this presidential system is so expensive to maintain even the basic people who run the system. With the result that the cost of governance that we complain about, there is one that is about corruption. This government is dealing with it, and now they are asking state governments and local governments to also harmonize with them to make sure that we can bring down the corrupt aspect of the cost of governance. But there is a structural aspect that you can't do anything about. You know, you have 30-something, 50-something, 20-something members of assembly in some states and things like this. Do you understand? It is very expensive. Civil service, bloated. Government agencies, bloated. Departments, bloated. A local government chairman told me in one of the states of Nigeria that he said, look, okay, can you see how many people are running this place? We are not up to 20, okay? And honestly, we can get the job done. How many people have you seen here this morning? I went to his local government, okay? And then he said, go and look at my payroll. It's about 600. Do you see? And then we have all these funny laws that, okay, you cannot relieve local civil servants of their work. It's an endless process. You shouldn't, you know, if you release them, then you'll be increasing the pool of the unemployed. I think there can be better ways we can do this. This government has good intentions, is thinking. Anytime I hear like Oshibaju, some of the ministers, Kemi Adeosun and thing, I see that there's serious thinking for the first, but there are still things we can do which will be a shift of paradigm from the existing thinking, like I'll give you one. The idea that you cannot move people from civil service, it's not true. Well, it is true constitutionally, but what you can do is, for instance, use private sector methods. Say, we will have a program called From Service to My Own Business, okay? And you say if somebody has spent 15 years, maybe 18 years in service, they are open to voluntary retirement. They themselves walk up and say, I want to retire. So that qualifies them to certain kinds of packages.
But nothing stops
and
them
you
now.
support them, you support those kinds of people who have taken the package, okay, to set up small businesses. And you help them. Do you understand? And you give them advice so the business doesn't collapse within the first 2 years and things. That is one. There are and look.
What if many don't subscribe to that?
My experience is that many people, that's what I took to leave where I was working. My experience is that many people would want to do it. That is the truth. You know, especially if you make the ministry so tight that you can't be working in the ministry and then leave for 2 weeks and go to Dubai.